Before we get into this video, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone with their recent massive support on my chill clip video. I know I already made a post thanking them, but I just wanted to give a second thank you from my voice. Not only, hang on, before I get over myself, let me just put it this way. That video came out at 9:30 o'clock Wednesday morning, and by yesterday, it was, or let me say, actually, Sunday or Monday, it was already in competition for my second highest view. It's already my second highest view, with approaching to be my #1 highest viewed video. And currently, as of right now, it is pretty much doubled my other highest viewed video right now. So thank you, everyone in the comments, everyone liking that video, everyone even just viewing it. I thank you immensely. That is some massive attention to my channel, and I'm absolutely loving seeing how many people didn't actually know things, and all the people talking between each other and actually talking about it. I love seeing that on one of my videos. But aside from mushy YouTuber content creator stuff, we finally got a more detailed intro to Strand. So we did get a trailer earlier today, which I would recommend going to watch it. You definitely see some nasty looking gameplay in, you know, typical Bungie trailer style, but they do give us a little bit more detail into everything else. So we actually get a view of Strand in action, a pretty cool screenshot. I'm not gonna lie, I forget what these dudes are called, but this new darkness-based entity, I'm pretty sure he's the biggest thing we've ever fought outside of a dungeon boss or a raid boss, which I'm excited for. These things are gonna be massive on the battlefield. But essentially, they give us a lot of blah 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 when it comes to how they made stasis, or I'm still saying stasis, Strand, and a variety. And in definition, think of it like Destiny's version of the Force, where our characters are essentially just thinking hard, pulling at the strings of reality, and bending reality to our will. That is basically how they talk about Strand, or Damage Type 5, as they talk about it in development. So there's a bunch of decent variety into the details. So to understand Strand, they give us some vocabulary. Creating an object using Strand is weaving. Defeating an enemy affected by Strand will unravel them, disconnecting their life force from the weave and creating a tangle. Essentially think of that like stasis crystals, the stasis shards. Left behind after a Strand debuffed enemy is defeated, a tangle is a swirling bundle of Strand fibers. These bundles of Strand will explode when shot, causing area damage to nearby enemies. Guardians can also pick up tangles and throw them to deadly effect. So honestly, think of Strand as the new Warmind cells, because that essentially sounds like what they're going for. On the debuff sides, we get three verbs to know. So Suspend is suspending a PvE enemy lifted above the ground for a brief duration, essentially disable. And PvP, the suspended players are lifted off the ground and can still move, well, slowly, and fire their weapons to fight back. So think... what's that? I know everyone's seen it, and it's basically when an enemy is held by Strand and helpless against their enemy. In PvE, it sounds like they'll be afflicted, but not helpless. Unravel is attacking an unraveling enemy would cause threads to bust out of the target and attack other nearby targets. Once hit, the target will also become unraveled. Basically, volatile, but Strand, it sounds. Then also Severing is when a severed enemy is less capable of affecting the material world, reducing their damage output as a result. So think of Severing just as overload in things. And then a major buff coming with Strand is the aspect of Woven Mail, which is, I suppose, like the restoration of Strand. With this ability, Guardian is sheathed in a protective mesh of Strand matter, reducing incoming damage. Note that in PvP, Woven Mail will only reduce damage taken on the body, while headshots and melee damage will continue as normal. So I don't think Hunters are going to be as terrible. I do know there is that exotic headpiece that grants Woven Mail on grapple, but I thought Woven Mail might have been unique to Hunters, but it appears not. Then, we also get into little bits in here and a lot more talking about how they want things to work, but then we get more details regarding each individual class. So we see the Warlock Broodweaver in a amazing looking screenshot. Now, basically they're the masters of the Threadlings, which is what a lot of people have seen. It's like Strand-based colony shots, where they're basically, how do I put this? Think a worm that burrows into the ground via Strand and will seek out enemies. So, there is a lot of details, but as well, let's see. They give some details to see. Threadlings are explosive minions, woven from Strand matter. The Warlock Broodweaver, being the cerebral type, is more in tune with Threadlings than the other classes. All Threadlings will run forward, jump on enemies, and explode, while only the Warlock's Threadlings will return to the Warlock and travel with them if they can't find a target. So, and that aspect is pretty good. It's just like Stasis, where all 3 classes will have access to Strand and possibly Threadlings as well, but Warlocks will be the best to use them. Kind of like the way that the Warlocks with the Solar subclass were the best at flying in that assets. Let's see, and they give examples and say, like, I have 3 Threadlings, but only 2 of them are needed to defeat an enemy. If I'm a Warlock, the last one is going to run back, hop on me, and condense down into a form that is orbiting me, also known as perching. Then the next time I attack an enemy, it will pop off and attack that same enemy, which really gives it a sense of having these minions that are doing my bidding. Think of it like Strand Arc Souls, almost. Let's see, and it's not just summoning and wielding Threadlings that Warlocks excel. With the Strand melee attack, Warlocks cast an Arcane Needle, a deadly projectile that tracks targets, cause high damage, and unravel them upon impact. Warlocks will only be able to quickly chain 3 Arcane Needle attacks in a row. And they give more details on Strand and aspects as well. So one of the aspects that Warlocks have is Weaver's Call. On Riftcast, the Warlock weaves 3 Threadling eggs that will hatch into Threadlings when they hit a surface. Any perched Threadlings will convert into additional eggs. So basically, well, there's no way to explain that aside from what it said. Then I also have Mind Spun Invocation, which is the aspect improves several of the Warlock's abilities, make it so that when you, think of it like that Stasis aspect for Hunters, the way they have things that just improves everything. So they have the buff, the Grapple, where when you execute a grapple melee, the Warlock weaves 3 Threadling eggs from the target, making more Threadlings. The Threadling Grenade, which makes it so you can consume it and generate a full complement of perched Threadlings ready to go when you need it. And Shackle Grenade is you can consume your Shackle Grenade to gain a buff, creating a suspending detonation on every kill, which honestly sounds quite nuts. Then let's see, right. The super itself, the Warlock's telekinetic abilities accumulate with their super Needle Storm, a deadly combination of burst damage and aerial denial. On cast, the Warlock conjures Strand Matter into a fusillade of hardened spikes, launching them forward with a wave of their hand. The missiles will stick into enemies in the environment alike before detonating and weaving themselves into an army of Threadlings that will hunt down any survivors. So this is going to be brutal in the Crucible on cast, because if you survive the initial missile pack, anyone who gets killed by it is going to turn into sprawling Threadlings. Oh boy. Now we also have the Hunter itself with a Strand-based rope dart, which I gotta admit, I think this might be the one I have the most fun with. So the Thread Runner, specifically, their Threaded Spike melee attack, has the Hunter hurling out a rope dart that bounces between enemies, like the shurikens on Stasis, damaging and severing them before returning to the Hunter. Upon its return, it grants melee damage for each energy hit, and Hunters can catch the rope dart by pressing the melee input button at the perfect timing, and perfect time will earn additional amount of melee energy. So it sounds like this thing is going to be thrown out a lot if you can build into it. Then for the 2 aspects they gain, Ensnaring Slam makes it so that while in the air, press the air move input to slam downwards, suspending all nearby enemies, so essentially the Shatter Dive for Strand. And we have Widow Silk, which makes it so this aspect grants an additional grenade charge. The Hunter's grapple ability creates a persistent grapple tangle when it latches, which fully refunds grenade energy when grappled too. Hunters can use this ability to set up chains of grapple points that their entire team can use, greatly enhancing their ability to quickly move around in combat or traverse the environment. So it actually sounds like that if you have any people who generally struggle with jumping puzzles, run that aspect if there's any more that we can get, and you'll make it easier for everyone else to get through things. So then we also have the super itself. Silk Strike, when activated, the Hunter uses their grapple to freely move throughout the world in third-person view, while also throwing out their rope dart to strike down enemies. Hunters will be able to use the grapple more often during the super, and the rope dart features both a light and heavy attack. Light attack meant for single opponents and can be used in air and on the ground, and when on the ground, the Hunter can chain attacks seamlessly. Hitting an enemy with the tip of the dart deals bonus damage, and defeating an enemy with it causes them to explode. The heavy attack has the Hunter swing the rope dart around in a 360-degree arc, damaging everything nearby, as with the light attack, this can be used in ground or on the air, which sounds fun. Then we also get to my homeboys with the Titans in Berserker. So I know a lot of people are complaining it seems like we're just getting another Fist of Havoc class, but honestly, I'm liking the way this sounds. Let's see. The Titan's melee ability, Frenzied Blade. With the press of a button, the Titan dashes forward and slashes at enemies with their strand arm blades, severing victims and decreasing their damage output. With a default set of 3 charges, yes, 3 melee charges, Titans can chain these slashes together for maximum offensive power, and that's just default. That's not saying we will not get more, which is amazing. And we also have the 2 aspects into the fray. Destroying a tangle weaves woven mail into the Titan and nearby allies, in addition to reducing damage taken. This aspect also increases the melee energy regeneration when wearing woven mail, which sounds like the barricade for the Void class, essentially strandmized. And we also have Drinker's Lash. When the Titan casts their class ability, the Titan will blast forward a powerful ripple in reality, suspending enemies that are caught in the shockwave's path, which sounds different and also possibly combinable with that exotic pair of gauntlets we know that does something similar. Then we also have the Super Blade Fury, which essentially, from what I read before, sounds like the Stasis version of Strand, which is basically you just get enhanced melee. Let's see, the Super's light attack is a supercharged version of Frenzy Blade melee attack, which each light attack that connects increasing the next attack's speed, which tops out after a maximum of 3 hits. In addition, connecting with light attacks also builds energy for the Super's heavy attack with each hit. But the heavy attack, the Titan hurls a pair of projectiles forward that seeks out enemies, suspending and damaging them on impact. They also give us a look at 3 new grenades, which includes the grapple, which is controlled by the grenade button. In case you did not know, the grapple is your grenade if you have it equipped. The Threadling grenade splits into 3 projectiles that weave into thread links upon impact. The Shackle grenade effectively acts as a bola, detonating into suspending blast and sending out smaller secondary bolas to suspend nearby enemies. Then we also have a look at a few of the fragments we will have access to. Thread of the Ascent. Activating your grenade ability reloads your equipped weapon and grants increased handling and airborne effectiveness, essentially being the grapple aspect. It's fragments, excuse me, I always confuse those. Thread of Fury, damaging targets with a tangle, grants melee energy. Finality, finishers generate threadlings. And picking up an Orban Light grabs woven mails. There's already multiple sources for some damage resistant Strand style. Whew. So that was honestly all of what we are given with Strand and Lightfall, which sounds like a majority of it. Of course, there will be more fragments. They usually don't give us all fragments right off the bat. There's a few that are selective. Is it possible we'll also get more aspects? Definitely, because I know with Strand, if they're handling it the same way with the launch, with Stasis, I'm getting them confused. I keep saying Strand when I mean Stasis. When Stasis launched, we had a new aspect that came with us with the first 2 seasons during Season of the Splicer and Season of the Chosen, respectively. But hopefully, actually, Bungie might not do that and might just give us an extra aspect we can learn immediately. Like, what we have sounds cool. I'm not gonna lie, the Hunter, honestly, that might not be my favorite, personally, in performance with the aspects, because it's like the Solar Warlock. I don't remember to use the air dodge enough, and I don't float well enough. So, I only really use one of my aspects because the other 2 I just am not a fan of. Same thing with Hunters here. While the slam downward suspending sounds good, the other one, maybe not, because I might not actually be that much of a... I'll use grapple, but not a lot, possibly. So, I hope we do get other aspects soon, because some of these actually don't sound like ones that I will run permanently. But, you know, that's just me. That's my 2 cents on it. I, of course, you know, I will take what I can get when it comes to new stuff. So, on that note... My name is Matt Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.